Okay, so now we have since done a lot of progress in terms of how to use the scene components and add the scene component, and of course perform the spawning of the emitter on the certain point of that scene component. What if we want multiple emitters at multiple locations at different scenes? Okay, in that case, what we can do actually is that we can use something called node called as sequence. But before doing that, let's do one thing. Let's say that we have a cube. Maybe just remove the cube here now, and also the actor location. Just move a little bit more down, have more space here, and we can rename the scene underscore 1. Okay, and let's add another one, scene. Okay. If you see now what happened actually, since we were already selected scene 1, the next component which was created of scene again became the child of scene 1. But that's not what we want actually, but I'm just trying to tell you exactly that this is how, if you have already selected something and you add a component, it becomes a child by itself by automatically. So let's move it up here, and for this one we call it scene 2. And let's go back and to give you an example of that, how a child relation becomes a parent child. So we go to the box itself now here and type scene. Now you see that it is actually connected under the box itself, under the box collision. So let's rename it and call it scene 3. Now let's go to the viewport and let's see where is our scene 1. Scene 1 is here, scene 2 is here, and we'll just move it on this side, and scene 3 is here, and we just move it on this side. So just different locations for each of them. Zoom out, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. Great. Now after doing this one, let's try to put the things little bit of, at the moment it's like too cluttered. So let's just bring this stuff here, and let's bring the scene 1 here exactly, and okay, that's good enough. Okay, and I think better to have a little bit more space, and let's bring the end overlap function here. And what was this in the starting? Begin overlap. Okay, that is not being used. Let's just remove it, and we'll work with this particular event graph now. So let's disconnect this current connection as of now and have a little bit more space. Let's just bring it in this is, and now from this executable pin, let's type sequence. If you see, you get a nice icon for the sequence. And what this basically does is actually is that each of these pins itself, they run in a sequence. So once it is fired, whatever is connected to these as a second or extra node itself, or whatever the executable function, it will run first this, then second this, and then it will run the third one. In our case, since we have 3 scenes, I'll just add another pin. So we have one action to be done, second action to be done, third action to be done. So now if we take this one and let's have it a little bit more up on this side, and we take a pin out of it and we connect to this particular emitter. So what's happening now, that once our BP physics ball BP is successful, the sequence node will start working, and whatever is connected to this particular connections, it will run that particular item or the node itself. Now what I would like to also do is that let's copy Control C and Control P the emitter itself, and then let's take these 4 nodes except the scene 1 and copy and paste. Just bring it down under this particular node itself. And now for the get world location, we would like to have the scene 2. we would like to have a scene 2, and we just, if we try to bring it here, we can also get scene 2 like this, and we can just connect to the get world location. However, the other way also is easier way is just to bring it and drag it and just drop it on the target, and automatically it will connect to the world location. Now in this case, again connect the vector to the vector value itself, and if we go back into our, okay, let me just try to bring something in the middle so we can see everything. So now the second pin, we can drag it and point it to this particular spawn emitter. So what's happening now, it will first run this one, then it will run the second one, and after the second one we would like to have a third one. Now if you see, previously we had a particle called fire particle as a what you call as a variable. Now we would like to also, and it was storing the value of this emitter for that particular location itself. However, we would like to also have for the second one another variable also. So what I would like to do actually to make it more consistent, let's say name this particular fire particle and say _1. And in the same way, if we go back and we take the return value of the second emitter, okay, we can drag and we say promote the return value, and in this case it is also creating a variable for us, but this time we're going to rename it and say fire particle _2. Great, fine, so far so good. Now we're gonna make the emitter the third time for the scene 3 and paste it here. Same in the case of copy these particular nodes, paste them here. Okay, let's just connect this particular to the vector. Okay, now find this and just bring it here in this case. And now this time we're going to take the scene 3 which we added before, if you remember, and connect it to our get world location. Great. Now going back to the sequence, take the last pin and then connect this to particular node for the scene 3. Now what will happen now, that first it will run this sequence, then the second, then the third, and then it will emit these fire particles on different locations based on the scenes for which we are getting the get world location. Now again we have a return value for this particular emitter, which is the third emitter. We would like to promote it as a variable. Okay, and once we have it, let's go and type fire particle _3. Great. So we have 3 variables, 3 emitters, 3 scenes. Now when we run our what you call game, let's try to just get this end overlap function just somewhere here near. Once we play our game now, let's compile. It should, when the ball actually is going to overlap with your box, you're going to have 3 different emitters at 3 different locations of 3 different scenes. So let's move and see what happens. There you go. It looks very nice actually. Like in this case, I mean, I guess you can make some cool stuff out of it as well. If you're not going to make a game, make something cool then. Okay, so now you see that we are overlapping, but only one emitter is getting destroyed. And why is it actually? If we go back to our event graph, we see that the on component overlap box had only destroying particle 1, fire particle 1, and not fire particle 2. So what we need is actually, we can add another sequence here, okay, and then in that sequence it will destroy the particle first one, then the particle 2, then the particle 3. So what we can do, let's disconnect this particular node and bring this one underneath it and just put it here. and in this particular say sequence, fine, and we click this one to this one, and we can again copy this particular node and just paste it here, and let's paste it a third time as well. And for every time, if we bring particle 2 and we connect it to this one, and particle 3 connected to this one, and we take the sequence, add the third sequence also, link it with this, and the last one with this. Let's have the particle under variable under the destroy component for each of them, little bit more space. So now what's going to happen is that once you will end overlap with the cube which is here exactly, it should destroy all of the particle system which it was spawning before. Compile, let's go back, play, let's move our ball and see once everything is showing up, and once we are end overlapping, all of them are going showing up and overlapping and end overlap, and it's going. So that's how you are able to use the sequence in your particular game to do multiple things in a sequence at different levels using scenes. I mean, it's all about imagination, guys. I mean, you can build up just a lot of stuff. Now, one thing I want to actually introduce here is to see, if you start looking at it, your blueprint is getting complicated slowly and steadily, and you can see there is a lot of flows are going, and it's really hard to understand what's happening at different location and different areas of your map itself. So it will be not even readable for anybody who might be interested to actually know your logic. So let me just bring everything together and put it like this, and there is something which we can do to make it more manageable, is that if we can highlight these two nodes and press C key on your keyboard, you can actually comment this area as if what description you want to put, that what exactly is happening. So let's say that we want to say begin overlap function and casting. Okay, so this actually shows that our begin overlap function is happening here and casting is happening here. And if we want to, let's say we want to try to manage this particular area also, let's just bring it a little bit down here so it's more understandable, and remove this one to this side. And okay, I think a little bit more, it's just too small, and there's a lot of stuff is going on. So let's just put it here. And by the way, this is just one example. I mean, there is a lot of other ways of doing it. So, and we select this and we press command, and if we zoom in, command and say sequence of emitters. Great. So now you see that you have a managed way of commenting and adding up your blueprints function. So it's very clear that what's happening where exactly, so you can easily manage it. We can do the same for end overlap. Let's just select these, command end overlap event and casting. Great. And let's just move a little bit up and move sequence here. Okay, and select all of them, press C and comment emitter destroying emitter CS. Okay, let's say sequence of emitter destroy. Great. Let's just compile, save, and if you can see that now your flow looks much better, much organized. I mean, it's just not going haywire here and there, and your flow is very much understandable, readable as well at the same time. So that concludes in terms of what sequence node is all about, and we have very logically used in our graph. to make something interesting. And we will be moving forward to some few more functions until we reach the end of these basic functions tutorials, and then guys we will start our first game.